I even remember how to do this?
Hello, hello. Welcome back. It's been a little while. Welcome back to Marshmellow Reads. Yes, it has been a while. I'm Marcy, and today I'm going to give you a bit of a life update and talk about some horror books that I've read recently. Okay, I'm going to quickly update you all on where I've been the last 4 months. It has been hectic. So, number one, in January, I got to go to Mexico and see a bunch of my family. I haven't been in like 14 years, so it was like huge. It was amazing, incredible. I'm going again, bringing my husband for the first time in June, so that's really exciting. I turned 30 in March, and yes, if you all remember the 30 under 30 video I did last year, I didn't quite make it under 30. So I was in the middle of reading my last book as I turned 30. So it was close, give or take. I did end up DNFing two of the books on that list. I think I'm just gonna do a whole like ranking video for all the books I read for that later. But yeah, that is a goal done. Hooray. And yeah, besides that, I've just been chugging away at my research. This is my final 2 semesters, I guess. So I'm finishing up this spring semester where most of my experiments will hopefully be wrapping up in the next month or so. Then I'm going to focus on writing my dissertation this whole summer, and I will be defending in the fall. When? I don't know. We're going to figure it out. Yeah, so that's exciting. So trying to figure out where the heck I'm going to be in 2024, finding a job, finishing this whole dissertation. You know, it's been hectic. So that's why I haven't really been around much, but I have been reading so much. I think I just finished my like 30th book this year, which is, not bad. And I'm going to talk to you about them. So I've decided to break it up into different genres per video. So this is going to be a horror video where I talk about 4 horror books. I'm also going to have a sci-fi video, fantasy, and then a general fiction with like a random memoir thrown in there. All right, enough chatting. Let's get into the books. First up, we have Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. There is, I think they're on like chapter 15 or 16, somewhere around there. I am mostly caught up. I think it's still ongoing. I've been reading the most recent chapters online, but this is a horror thriller manga series about Seiichi, this like 13-year-old boy, and his mother, who loves him very, very much. But others that look at their relationship kind of see her as very overbearing and honestly kind of weird. So one day, Seiichi, his mom, dad, and other family members are on this hike on a mountain, and Seiichi watches helplessly as his mother tries to save his cousin from falling off a cliff. Or maybe she pushed him? Yeah, it's pretty messed up. Unfortunately, the kid, he does survive, but is in a coma and is messed up, and the kid's parents are like obviously messed up by this whole situation. The mother is like, it's weird. It gets weird. I keep saying weird, but it is true. Like, it is so creepy and so messed up. That poor kid, Seiichi, is forever scarred by this horrible mother person. It's wild. Like, she is a psychopath, and seeing how it affected him and getting into her background a little bit, and it's a lot. It's very, very messy, and I was addicted to reading it. I just flew through it over my winter break. I'm not going to go through chapter by chapter rating it, but in general, I would consider the series to be between 4 and 5 stars all around. Next up, we have a horror novella that I read on Kindle Unlimited. This is Cenote by Sean Horton from Goodreads. A vacation to Mexico is supposed to be about sun, sand, and drunken debauchery. It's not supposed to include being trapped in a cave and trying to keep your head above water, while slimy things watch you with gleefully hungry eyes. This was a fun little creature feature of a novella. It definitely spooked me. I think I read it all in one night, like in bed, and this just gets me thinking, like, like I said, I'm bringing my husband to Mexico for the first time this summer, And we're definitely gonna be avoiding cenotes. Like, no thank you. I do not need monsters. I do not need curses. Yeah, this definitely kicked my flight or fight response to kick in. And after I finished it, I definitely had to wind down with some like wholesome YouTube videos before I fell asleep. A solid 4 out of 5 stars. This was an exciting sequel. I didn't know this was going to be a series. This is Don't Fear the Reaper by Stephen Graham Jones. This is the second book in the Indian Lake trilogy. Yeah, I think it's a trilogy. And the first book is My Heart is a Chainsaw, and that just, it wrecked me emotionally. And also was a really good slasher book, as is this one. So this one takes place 4 years after the bloodbath at Indian Lake in the first one, and it was really nice to see Jade and Letha and a bunch of the other children who are now young adults from the first book. And, you know, what they went through in the first book was pretty traumatic, so they still have a lot of healing to do, but it does seem like they've grown up quite a bit and started that healing process, and they're getting there. So just as Jade gets out of prison for her destruction of state property, which successfully saved the town from like a massive wildfire, so she shouldn't have gotten any jail time in my opinion. But of course, fate throws another serial killer in her path, and she has to, you know, do her thing and save the town. But she is out of the game, or she has been out of the game for a little while. She hasn't seen like Midsommar, Hereditary, or like any of the new horror movies, but Letha has. So ever since the Indian Lake massacre, Letha has just devoured all of the horror movies, slasher movies, I guess as part of her healing process. Maybe kind of like how Jade was using it as like a safety blanket, thinking that, okay, if I consume all of this horror media, then maybe if this happens again, she will know all the tips and tricks to stay alive. And it's probably a good thing because she gets wrapped up in this as well. Yeah, there is a lot of blood and death in this book again. It is, like I said, another great slasher. And as usual with Stephen Graham Jones's writing, I loved the characters. They really elevated the emotional state of the whole book. Like, yeah, slashers and murder is already emotionally intense, but no, like having such a close connection to these characters really heightens it because you don't want any of them to die, really. I also found the serial killer's background to be quite topical in terms of the horrors that were the very real residential schools all across Canada and the United States. Like, look it up. It's messed up, and no one has paid for it. So, yeah. Anyway, I ended up giving this one a 5 out of 5 stars. I can't wait for the third book in the series. Next, I have a book that has been on my physical bookshelf for a while now. This is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This may not be my last love letter to you, though some would call it a confession. Saved from the brink of death by a mysterious stranger, Constanta is transformed from a medieval peasant into a bride fit for an undead king. But when Dracula draws a cunning aristocrat and a starving artist into his web of passion and deceit, Constanta realizes that her beloved is capable of some terrible things. This was an enthralling tale of a nightmare polycule, basically. Like, Dracula absolutely would be an abusive and selfish lover. I can tell from how S.T. Gibson writes the Constanta's point of view and like how the other two spouses react to Dracula. It feels very real. It feels just like taking this horrific polyamorous relationship from someone's very real life and just sprinkling some vampire lore on top of it. I would not be surprised if that was the case, if that was their way of like dealing with this traumatic relationship. Because Dracula, you know, like a lot of abusers, he starts off incredibly loving and doting and obsessing over his new prize, his new spouse in each of the cases. But when he starts to get bored of them, it gets ugly. He doesn't let them go out to town by themselves or really spend time alone between each other. Like, he has to be always at the center of attention, and he's very quick to anger and, all that stuff. So, if that sounds good to you, check this one out. It's not very long. I flew through it. Oh, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. And those are all the horror books I have read so far this year. Not the spookiest of months so far, so I'm not surprised I haven't read more horror, but I do want to read more, especially more horror graphic novels and manga. Like, some of the images, not necessarily gory from Blood on the Tracks, but like the cat. The cat is recurring and it will stick with you, and it's messed up. All right, I'm ranting at this point, so I'm going to stop here. But first, before I say goodbye, I do want to give a shout out to Nana. Hi, Nana. I hope you're doing well. I know the past few weeks have been pretty intense for you, so hopefully you've got some time to rest and recuperate and all that. And look out for more Kringles, because we should keep sending those to you. You seem to really like it. Yeah, okay, that's it. For everyone else, and Nana included, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Do something nice for yourself. Do something nice for others. Maybe buy a bouquet and give a single flower away until you run out of flowers. I don't know, that sounds nice. I should do that. Anyway, I'm gonna leave you all. Check out my previous videos. This last one did surprisingly well. I guess I should do that again. But first I have to read enough bad books to talk shit about them, so look out for that in the future. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!